The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the pain. The second thing I noticed was that someone had fallen asleep in a chair beside my bed. For several seconds, I simply stared. King Jaden sat slumped awkwardly in a wooden chair, one arm folded across his chest. A blanket had been draped over him at some point during the night. His head rested against the back of the chai, fast asleep. I frowned. That couldn't be right. Kings didn't sleep in chairs. Kings slept in giant beds surrounded by expensive furniture and people whose sole purpose was making sure they remained comfortable. Yet here he was, looking decidedly uncomfortable. A strange feeling settled in my chest, one I immediately ignored. Carefully, I shifted upright. The movement sent a sharp pain through my side. Unfortunately, pain had excellent timing. Jaden's eyes opened immediately. The transformation was instant. 1 second asleep, the next fully alert. Relief flashed across his face before he could hide it. "Kelo." I blinked. "Your Majesty." For a brief moment, neither of us spoke. Then the king stood. "You should be resting." "I am resting." "You're sitting." "I can rest sitting." "You were stabbed." "Technically slashed." Jaden closed his eyes. The expression suggested he was reconsidering every decision that had led to hiring me. I considered that a positive sign. The king sighed. "You nearly died." "I didn't." "Kelo." Something in his voice made me stop. The usual humor was gone. The usual lightness too. Only concern remained. For reasons I couldn't explain, the realization affected me more than it should have. I looked away first. Thankfully, the physician arrived before the conversation could become any stranger. 3 days later, I was ordered to accompany the king north. Officially, we were inspecting border defenses. Unofficially, we were investigating reports of growing rebel activity. The council disliked the idea immediately, which usually meant it was a good one. "We don't know who these rebels are," Lord Oral argued. "Exactly," Jaden replied, "which is why we're going." The council chamber fell silent. I watched the nobles exchange uneasy glances. Some were afraid. Others were annoyed. A few looked genuinely worried. The king noticed it too, I could tell. His eyes lingered on several council members longer than usual, as though committing their reactions to memory. Eventually, the decision stood. We would leave at dawn. The journey north took 4 days, and during those 4 days, I began seeing a version of Jaden the palace never did. The king outside court was entirely different. At the palace, he carried the weight of a crown. Every word measured, every action observed, every decision judged. On the road, those walls began to disappear. Not completely, but enough. I saw him laugh with soldiers. I saw him stop to help a farmer repair a broken wagon. I saw him spend nearly an hour speaking with villagers whose names nobody important would ever remember. He listened to them. Most rulers only pretended, but Jaden didn't. That realization stayed with me, because it explained something I'd been struggling to understand. People loved him, not feared, not obeyed, but actually loved. There was a difference, and now I understood why. On the 3rd evening, we camped near a river. The soldiers settled around several fires. Horses rested nearby. The night air carried the scent of pine trees and wood smoke. For the first time in weeks, everything felt peaceful. I was sharpening my sword when someone sat beside me. I didn't need to look up. I already knew who it was. "The physician said you should still be resting." I sighed. "The physician says many things." Jaden smiled. The firelight caught his face, softened it, made him look younger, less like a king, more like the 23-year-old man beneath the crown. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The crackling fire filled the silence. Then Jaden surprised me. "Do you ever think about what you'd be doing if you weren't a knight?" I looked up. The question felt oddly personal. "I've never considered it." "Why not?" "Because I became a knight." The king laughed. A genuine laugh. I'd begun noticing his laugh far too often. It was a hypothetical question. I dislike hypothetical questions. Why? They usually lead to complicated answers. Jaden smiled wider. The sight did something strange to my chest. Something increasingly familiar, and increasingly difficult to ignore. "Fine," he said. "What about you?" I immediately regretted asking. The king's smile faded slightly. His gaze drifted toward the fire. For several seconds he said nothing. Then, "If my father had lived?" I nodded. A shadow crossed his features, the kind born from old grief. "I don't know." The honesty surprised me. Most kings would invent an answer. Jaden simply told the truth. "I never expected this life." His gaze remained fixed on the flames. My brother was supposed to inherit everything. The words emerged quietly, almost reluctantly. As a child, I thought I'd spend my life supporting him. For the first time, I truly understood something. Jaden hadn't been prepared for the throne. He'd been forced onto it by tragedy, forced to become king while still grieving, forced to carry an entire kingdom before he was ready. And somehow he had succeeded. The realization filled me with an unexpected surge of admiration, stronger than before, because lately I had begun noticing things I shouldn't notice. The way his eyes brightened when he was excited, the way he smiled at children, the way he thanked soldiers after every patrol, the way loneliness sometimes appeared when he thought nobody was looking, the way his presence somehow made difficult days easier. I frowned. That last one was particularly concerning. Jaden glanced toward me. What? I hadn't realized I was staring again. An increasingly common problem. Nothing. The king looked amused, but thankfully didn't press further. The conversation drifted elsewhere. Safer topics. Travel. Training. Stories from childhood. Yet long after we retired to our tents, I found myself thinking about it. Thinking about him. About the firelight. The laughter. The honesty. The strange warmth I'd felt throughout the conversation. Eventually, I rolled onto my back and stared at the tent ceiling. Annoyed. Because sleep refused to come. And for reasons I couldn't quite explain. Neither would thoughts of the king refuse to leave me. The next 2 days changed everything. Not dramatically, just enough to make me uncomfortable. The northern provinces were unlike the capital. Life moved slower here. People cared less about politics and more about surviving winter. Fields stretched across valleys. Small villages dotted the landscape. The roads were rough. The inns were worse. Jaden loved every minute of it. I noticed that immediately. Every village we visited received the same treatment. The king listened, asked questions, remembered names. He spoke with blacksmiths and shepherds the same way he spoke with nobles. Perhaps that should not have surprised me. Yet it did, because rulers were often surrounded by people eager to impress them. Jaden seemed more interested in people who weren't. That evening, we arrived at a small settlement near the northern forests. The village chief greeted us personally, a tired man with weathered skin and worried eyes. His concern became obvious almost immediately. They've been taking supplies. Jaden frowned. The rebels? A nod. Food, livestock, tools. The chief hesitated, then lowered his voice. And people? The atmosphere changed instantly. The king's expression hardened. So the reports were true. The village chief nodded. I watched Jaden carefully, watched the shift occur. The kind king vanished. In his place stood a ruler. Focused, sharp, dangerous. A man prepared to defend his people. The transformation fascinated me more than it should have. Perhaps because it reminded me that beneath the kindness was steel. Real steel, not the kind nobles pretended to possess. The kind forged by loss, by responsibility, by sacrifice. That night, we established camp just beyond the village. Additional patrols were assigned. Scouts sent ahead. Everyone expected trouble, including me. The rebels had remained hidden for too long. Sooner or later they would make a move. The question wasn't if. The question was when. And the answer arrived after midnight. I woke instantly. No sound. No warning. Just instinct. Years of training had taught me to trust it. Slowly, I sat upright. The camp appeared quiet. Most soldiers slept. The fires had burned low. Nothing seemed unusual. Then I saw movement. A shadow. Gone almost immediately. Someone was watching us. My hand closed around my sword. Every sense sharpened. A second shadow appeared. Then a third. My blood turned cold. Rebels. The realization struck a fraction of a second before chaos erupted. An arrow flew from the darkness. A soldier screamed. Another arrow followed. Then another. Suddenly, the entire forest exploded with movement. Ambush. The shout echoed through the camp. Men scrambled from their tents. Weapons flashed. Horses panicked. The night descended into madness. I was already moving. Toward one person. Only one. Jaden. The king emerged from his tent with sword in hand. Fully awake. Fully aware. No hesitation. No fear. He really was impossible. Your Majesty. Our eyes met across the chaos. Then another wave of rebels charged from the trees. Far too many. Steel clashed. The battle consumed the camp. A rebel rushed toward the king. I intercepted him immediately. My sword struck first. The attacker fell. Another followed. then another. Everywhere I looked there was movement. Shouting. Blood. Violence. The rebels weren't targeting supplies. They weren't targeting soldiers. They were targeting Jaden. The realization hit hard. This wasn't random. This wasn't opportunistic. Someone wanted the king dead. Rage surged through me, hotter than it should have, more personal than it should have. I cut down another attacker, then another. The camp blurred around me. The only thing that mattered was maintaining position, protecting the king, nothing else. A scream erupted behind us. One of our soldiers fell. The line broke briefly, just enough, then a rebel slipped through. He moved directly toward Jaden. The king turned but was too late. The attacker already had momentum, already had his blade raised. I moved without hesitation, without consideration, without thought. My body acted before my mind could. The blade meant for Jaden struck me instead. Pain exploded across my shoulder. The force nearly knocked me sideways. For a moment, everything went white. Then the world returned. The rebel staring in shock. Apparently, he hadn't expected his target to disappear. Neither had I. Jaden's face appeared. Horrified. Kelo. The king caught me before I fell. A dangerous distraction. One I corrected immediately. Fight first. The words emerged through gritted teeth. The king looked ready to argue. Then another attacker appeared. Reality returned. The battle continued. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Battle had a way of distorting time. Eventually, the rebels retreated, vanishing into the forest darkness, leaving behind bodies and far too much blood. Silence settled over the camp, heavy and exhausted. I sat heavily on a fallen log. The wound burned. Nothing fatal, nothing serious, at least compared to previous injuries. Yet Jaden looked furious, truly furious. The king stalked toward me. What were you thinking? I blinked. He was trying to kill you. That's not an answer. The king rarely raised his voice, which made it significantly more effective when he did. I stared. He stared back. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then understanding struck. He wasn't angry about the battle. He was angry because I got hurt. The realization landed strangely. My chest tightened, for reasons I couldn't explain, or perhaps didn't want to. Finally, I answered honestly. I wasn't thinking. The king looked even more frustrated. Exactly. Don't do that again. The words emerged quietly, almost pleading, and suddenly something shifted. Not in him, in me, because I realized I cared about that expression. The worry, the fear, the relief. I cared far more than I should, far more than was wise. The physician treated my wound shortly afterward, thankfully less dramatic than the last time. The soldiers eventually returned to their duties. The camp slowly settled, normalcy returning piece by piece. Yet sleep refused to come. Hours later, I still lay awake, staring at the ceiling of my tent, thinking. The battle replayed endlessly in my mind. The attack, the blade, Jaden catching me before I fell, the look on his face. Gods, that look. I rolled onto my side, annoyed, because I wasn't thinking about the battle anymore. I was thinking about him, the way he worried, the way he looked at me after the attack. The memories refused to stop, one after another. My chest felt strangely tight, as though something important was trying to make itself known, something I wasn't ready to examine, because examining it would require honesty, and honesty was becoming dangerous. Outside, the northern wind rustled through the trees. Inside, sleep remained impossible. I closed my eyes, only to see Jaden's face. I opened them immediately. This was absurd. Yet even knowing that, I couldn't stop replaying every conversation, every smile, every shared moment beside campfires, every reason I found myself looking for him throughout the day. A troubling realization settled over me, one I wasn't prepared to face, one I wasn't even certain I understood. The king occupied entirely too much space in my thoughts. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted him to leave.